Hello, Nick, everyone, back to Nick How Doing Crypto video. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we're back with another banger PulseChain video, giving us the latest and greatest of crypto news. And today's going to be a great video. I urge everyone to watch it all the way through. We're going to catch you guys up with everything that you need to know, including a very important security incident that happened this past week with the chain Sui network. Now, this actually raised questions about, is crypto as decentralized as we think it is? And if it's not, what is the solution? Now, the TLDR to that is actually PulseChain. We are true decentralization. We are true DeFi for a lot of reasons we're going to cover in this video. So yeah, let's jump into it. But before we do so, we're going to cover kind of the latest prices in terms of Bitcoin, the macro economics of the global liquidity, M2, etc. So yeah, Bitcoin's doing really well. It's hovering at that all-time high as we speak, even though it is in a weekend. So this is actually really great to see. And actually, so far we're almost at the end of May, which you think that the notorious saying of sell in May and go away would actually end up with being around the 50 weekly the 50 weekly moving average of Bitcoin, which you guys can see right here, which is kind of like the lifeline, right? This is the indicator that we are still in a bull run, by the way. This is what people use, and you can see that this is on a weekly candle. By the way, we did bounce as low as that, and this is obviously peak depression. A lot of people said that Bitcoin topped, and that is it. Guess what? Look at this. And I kept reminding people, keep an eye on the M2 money supply, especially with a 75-day moving average. Some people put it on a 115-day moving average. I like to catch the reversals as early as possible, and I told people it will be around end of March, etc. And then guess what happened within the first few weeks of April, right? You can see that it's following the M2 money supply, and guess what? This is the daily candle of the M2 money supply. It's still been rapidly increasing. This is really good. And as we covered in the previous episode, the DXY, the US dollar index, is still going down. It's getting weaker and weaker. You guys already know what that means. People are now going to move from holding fiat to risk on assets. This is really great. As the US dollar gets weaker, interest rates gets lower, people can now borrow more money, and technically that also means that people who are saving are getting punished. Well, of course, that's for another video here. But in terms of looking at Ethereum, while we're at it, you can see that it's hovering at that 2.5K. Really, really great. We're close to flipping green on the weekly super trend. So that's also really, really good news. And we've talked about World Liberty Finance, owning, I think, the majority or slightly above the stablecoin share. The biggest crypto holding is Ethereum, then followed by a wrapped Bitcoin. So that's really, really good news. So remember, I told this to a lot of people, is to follow smart money. Don't try to follow the crowd, because if you do sentimental analysis, you'll know that actually betting against the crowd is often the best thing. Okay, follow the information, not the crowd, and not waiting for graphs to update. Okay, if you're gonna wait for a green candle for you to then decide, oh yeah, I was just waiting to confirm the bottom, more often than not, you're going to be too late. Okay, so you have to really strike that balance between is this cheap enough, which we're going to show you guys in a second. I'm going to give you guys an example of how you can indicate if a chart is cheap or not, because of course any of us can come up with a bullish project or a really great project, for example like Bitcoin. The second half of the equation is deciding whether if it's worth investing in. Is it cheap for a great entry price? Okay, so I mean, for all of us here, if you want to make a quick 2x, that's Bitcoin for you, right? That's the least amount of certainty. Yes, it's still volatile, because welcome to crypto. When is it not going to be volatile, right? But we're here for financial freedom. Okay. Anyways, we're going to move on to other things, which is, again, a win for Bitcoin is a win for the rest of the altcoin season. Do remember this. It will trickle in. It will go from Bitcoin, the influx of money goes down to Ethereum, and then, of course, from Ethereum to large caps to the rest of the altcoins, which includes PulseChain. I guess PulseChain does count as a large cap, and every token within PulseChain is a normal altcoin, right? So yeah, looking at this is the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map, putting it on the 30-day as long as it can. You can see that there's kind of a price magnet, and this is really, really good. And I've kind of showcased this way before when Bitcoin was around 80,000, showcasing that there's a price magnet at the 6-figure mark, and now there's a new price magnet at the 120 Bitcoin mark. Why? Because there's around 5.5 billion worth of short liquidation. Guys, if Bitcoin reaches 120k, this is huge. As compared to if Bitcoin falls down to 95,000, we're looking at the price down here in the x-axis. You can see that it would only be a liquidation of 561 million. So you tell me where that price magnet is. I'm very excited for the future. This is just the beginning, guys. We're in May, a notorious month for traders that they should be selling and walking away, and it's bullish. Okay, so it's looking really good as well. You can see here the fear and greed index. We're slowly, hopefully going down, because I do expect us to retest a little bit, maybe perhaps some consolidation. Hopefully, we don't reach the extreme greed. I don't want us to reach that too quick now, because we can be hit with some, retest, which again, you guys should be expecting that. And again, we've actually gone through the worst parts, the absolute major depression that happened here. But in terms of obviously what Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing, you can see that today, more or less kind of sideways. Now, in terms of other PulseChain news, there is some really great PulseChain news we can cover in a second, but first I just wanted to remind people, and this kind of sets the theme of the episode. We're going to talk about the true decentralization of PulseChain, right? This is kind of beyond the number go up, charts and caring about all of that. Before we talk about user count, before we talk about green candles and all of that, we want to talk about the foundation. Okay, this is what really matters, the longevity. Off the bat, I really like PulseChain because it's a layer 1, not a layer 2. That's a whole different story. Layer 1s are much better. Okay, they don't rely on Ethereum, but we are a fork of Ethereum, so we inherit every great attribute that it has, including the future upgrades, which includes the Pectra upgrade that just got rolled out. We can roll it into PulseChain, but I'm not sure how long that will take. We do need, I believe, an EIP for that here in PulseChain. Or I guess a PulseChain improvement comment. I forgot what it's called, but that is with due time, and that is very, very possible. Right. Number 2 is effectively just talking about the foundation, the validators, the things that actually keep the chain running. We have, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys didn't know, we actually have almost 50,000 validators. So comparing that to Solana, which has 1.9k validators, that doesn't sound decentralized to me. And also the next factor here or the next metric is the downtime. All the nodes that we've had, all the RPC URLs, it had a 0 downtime. Compared to Solana, very, very notorious, guys, for having a lot of failed transactions and even straight up a downtime. Okay, so keep that also in mind. I understand, by the way, that people would say, does it really matter, because Solana is actually still leading in terms of highest amount of volume, etc. And that is very true. And this actually brings us to another kind of topic where do people really care about decentralization, right? People only care about, for example, here facilitating of creating meme coins. This is why Pump Fund was such a success. Okay, even though yes, it's very low fees, PulseChain is also low fees. Okay, Solana is quicker than PulseChain, yes, right? And I think that is possibly to do with a factor. But generally, guys, people don't really care about cheap gas fees. Because let me tell you, for example, if you went ahead and asked a crowd, what would they rather see? A $10,000 priced Ethereum, but with $100 gas fees, versus 10-cent gas fees, but a $2,000 Ethereum. You let me know, what do you think they will choose? Okay, so that is the answer right there. So I'm telling you guys, at the end of the day, it really does not matter. This is why when I'm here outreaching, trying to get people into PulseChain, I don't even mention the fact that we're 70% quicker than Ethereum, etc., or very cheaper than Ethereum. People don't really care about that. Unfortunately, they care about green candles. Okay, but all I'm trying to say in terms of longevity is actually really, really important to have validators to not have a downtime, because in the long run, I really don't think that Solana will be doing that great. Now, I might sound like I'm fudding it. I'm just keeping it real, because in the next bull run, by the way, guys, Solana will be experiencing its 3rd cycle curse that a lot of people have been labeling Ethereum in this cycle. Okay, but PulseChain, we're just booming, guys. We're cycle 1. This is our first cycle. Okay, you're watching this video right now. You literally have the greatest chances of making the most return out of everyone else in crypto right now. Yeah, welcome to PulseChain, guys. This is the possibility that we have here. We are literally repeating Ethereum's history. So I'm very excited. Anyways, moving on to another tweet here. A big shout to Hex Lotus with a great image. And you can see here, real decentralized power living within us. Strength, truth, expansion, freedom, and connection. And then quoting here the core four. And then also in other news, there's another whale bridging in from Ethereum to PulseChain using obviously the native bridge, which you guys didn't know, bridge.pulsechain.com. You can see here they bridged in 555.55, 1.4 million worth of Ethereum. So here I said, we have a new PulseChain whale. They probably know something that you don't. So remember to follow the smart money, not the crowd. Follow the information instead of waiting for the charts to update. Believe in the core 7. Pulse, PulseX, INC, Hex, eHex, PDAI, PWTC. That's always been my belief. You guys already know that. We are cycle 1, baby. Come on now. And then, yeah, here a big shout to PulseChain Maxi says, you keep going back and forth on PDAI. Is it a meme or a legit core coin? Now, I did say I never really switched on PDAI, but this is also a reply that I wanted to kind of showcase here. I basically said, yes, it is in my core 7, but I've always said that, PDAI is higher risk than all the other 6 cores. You have to, I have to be real with you guys. I mean, it's been very volatile. Obviously, we've been hit with tons of FUD waves, literally from the actual founder himself, guys. You know what I mean? Which is kind of crazy because he tweeted 30 plus times about PDAI, and then he also talks about the risk diode, where if there is a scam that he wants to warn us about, he would just not talk about it. Okay, but guess what he did? He tweeted 33 times. And throughout 2024, he bragged about that chart. The only chart on PulseChain that did a 10,000x. The only chart that from its all-time low to $1 was a 55,555x to $1. Numerology, guys. And you know what's also crazy? Speaking about this whale who's bridging in 55555, Richard Hart owns the largest cut diamond on Earth that has, what was it again? 555 facets, I believe. Oh no, sorry, it was 55 facets, but it's 555.55 carats. It's crazy. And by the way, this is him saying in his previous video, saying that he doesn't believe in numerology. And before we carry on, I just wanted to give a big shout out to the YouTube members who are choosing to support my small channel. Thank you very much to all the existing and the new YouTube members. And to the highlighted comments here from Stefan says, I love that you started timestamping your videos. Thank you. Well, you're absolutely welcome. I know this has been one of the highly requested kind of features to add into my videos, especially if they're too long. Well, now you're able to. If you look down in the description, you'll see that there's multiple chapters with their timestamps, or you can see that on the timeline if you hover over it. So yeah, I appreciate you guys for being patient, and thank you for all the constructive feedback. I always try to keep that and take it on board. And to the other highlighted comments here from Steve says, keep it going. Thank you very much. And here from 04LA says, keep up the great work. Thank you. Thank you. And finally, but not least, from Valiant Tone here says, I've been saying this since the beginning. Richard is definitely behind PDAI trying to get it to $1 and peg. How did I know? Because it's what's best for his creation. It's best for PulseChain. It's best thing to do for adoption, and it's best thing to do to make dollars. I can't think of a reason why Richard wouldn't want PDAI to peg to $1. And I agree with your comment. I actually do believe that Richard Hart is somewhat involved in this PDAI narrative. He spoke a lot. There's a lot of references way before PulseChain even launched when he talked about, his curiosity about what will happen if you forked a stablecoin. What kind of value would it reach? And it's been very obvious with him talking about that there's a team that's going to work on a MakerDAO replacement. It's been very obvious when he talks about that he's very fond of the DAI stablecoin. That's truly an algorithmic stablecoin that doesn't require a bank account, guys, as opposed to USDC, USDT, Okay, and the timing where Richard Hart starts tweeting negatively against PDAI when he said, you know, stop buying PDAI, question mark, right? And at the same time where Maria did the whole mental breakdown, started blaming Somi and talking about people robbing their family's rifles in Kentucky. Like, what? Is very, very crazy. This story goes very, very deep. And matter of fact, guys, I'm telling you, this is not a meme coin. This is a token on a mission. Okay, the effects of having a stablecoin that does not require an oracle, that is truly decentralized, that doesn't have admin keys, that's algorithmically backed, guys, it's actually going to end up being bigger than the gains that it has to $1, which is right now probably around 300x. It's much bigger than a 300x, guys. We're not talking about gains. We're just talking about facilitating this true decentralization in a world where banks, where we literally talked about, banks are trying to create a CBDC alternative, which is basically a stablecoin, guys. They're trying to make their own stablecoin. Okay, look at MakerDAO. Now it's changed to Sky. This is why it's very significant what Pulsechain has done. It took snapshot of the MakerDAO in the right time, just before they made the USDS, whatever it's called, or the one that actually has a blacklist function. We took a snapshot of the legacy version of PDAI. Anyways, here's what I said. Oh yeah, it's definitely the highest out of these 7 in terms of uncertainty and volatility. But remember, volatility is the price that you pay for holding the best assets. This is the quote from Mr. Hart. And here I said, high uncertainty means high risk, which also means high rewards. People can wait for more certainty, but they'll have to trade it with an expensive price. They have to decide based on their risk tolerance. Personally, for me, I believe, then again, I can't speak for everyone else, crypto is a solo sport. Not financial advice. Of course, always do your own research. And now moving on to other news here. Shout out to Pulse Alerts by reminding us the daily PulseX buy and burn. Remember, guys, this is why PulseX is very, very, very bullish due to its tokenomics, which, by the way, makes it a much better DEX token than Uniswap, which again also PulseX is native to Pulsechain. Uniswap is not native to Ethereum. Guys, we're better than Uniswap in many, many different ways. And I think right now, in terms of market cap, we're probably around a 10x away to flip Uniswap, which I'm really, really excited. And you can see here, guys, 18.6K, which obviously might not seem like a lot to some people, but this used to be 55,000 per day. Okay, it used to average that. And of course, right now, we're probably going through lower-ish volume days. So I'm very, very excited for the future, guys. This is constant burn. And by the way, when I say burn, that means the amount of tokens, which is here, 506 million PulseX, that's gone out of the circulation forever. What does a burn mean? It means it sends that token, that amount of tokens, to the burn address that nobody has access to, including Richard Hart, including the OA, including the PulseX devs, including everyone. Okay, no one will ever have access to it. It either sends it to the 0x000 null address, or it sends it to the 0x000 dead, or it sends it to the Pulsechain specific dead address, which is 0x00369. Okay, those are the 3 possible addresses. So it is really, really exciting. I'm telling you guys, PulseX will soon be 1-to-1 with Pulse, which is not right now. Right now you can see it. Oh my God, it's actually really close. 1-to-1.1. So there you go. It's so crazy. It's been silently burning, guys. I mean, actually, here, let's quickly show you guys. I'll show you guys here. So this is the normal chart, right? For you to see the ratio, all you got to do is click the WPLS instead of the USD. And then now you can see that even during, you know, the prices of it going down, this is when you don't really care about the USD dollar value. When you care about the unit value or what it's anchored to in terms of like a relative anchor, which is of course Pulse, because Pulse is the native, it's the coin of the whole chain, right? It's the main gravity if you think about it. You can see that, guys, it has been nothing but going up during ups and downs, whether if it's a dead summer like in 2024, whether it's some bearish news, whatever, it's still going up because remember, it's the buys and sells through all the liquidity pairs across PulseX, which is what, like 90% of the liquidity are in PulseX liquidity liquidity pairs, right? Whether if it's a buy or a sell, So even when people sell, a certain percentage of that transaction goes to buy and burn PulseX. It's just a reminder, guys. This is a token that I'm holding for bull runs to come, guys. For bull runs to come. This is very, very bullish, guys. Okay, so personally for me, I don't really hold that much Pulse, the main gas fee token, because I just choose to double down in PulseX. That's what I've always told people. Okay, so yeah, let me know what you think. Which is crazy. Look at this. We're just actually almost at 369, the chain ID of PulseChain. Anyways, moving on to other news. This is really great for PulseChain, by the way. And here, big shout to Panos. He goes, I've negotiated with MEXC to get PulseChain relisted. They have agreed to list us with no listing fee. They just needed the typical 60,000 of liquidity for market makers. This is the lowest hanging fruit as far as exchange listings go. So yeah. And then he basically just says the guy who kind of provided liquidity initially is no longer interested in adding it again. And I think someone commented saying that he's willing to add 10,000 or contribute 10,000 for that liquidity. This will be good in general, but obviously this does leave kind of a bitter taste to MEXC. I don't know how I feel about their decision, because guys, it doesn't make sense that they took us off the platform, even though that they're still listing other tokens that are practically dead. Okay, now I understand we probably didn't meet the thresholds in terms of trading volume back in summer of last year, etc. But anyways, I don't really know. Okay, I'm not gonna hold any grudges. Great, this is good news. That they're not gonna ask for a relisting fee. Like, that's absolutely crazy, bro. Okay, that's the minimum they should do. But in terms of the liquidity here, I guess so. I'm not sure how is that's gonna get sorted out. Maybe through some benevolent whales or something. We shall see. But yeah, big shout out to Panos for kind of leading that conversation with MEXC. But this, yeah, it is great news at the end of the day. Even though I might not use it for me personally, but it was, and I remember, a great onboarding tool for people. First of all, it shows legitimacy for PulseChain, because yes, centralized exchanges, even though we all know here as DeFi users that it's not a great place to leave your money overnight, whatever, right? But it still does help a lot for the retail investors that don't really care about decentralization, etc., and or counterparty risk. But anyways, we're moving on here from this guy, Sunny, says, I have absolutely no idea how he did it, but Richard Hart actually won against the SEC in courts. So he's kind of in denial. And guys, I'm telling you, this is kind of the next stage, right? Where people try to fight us. We win. They still try to ignore us, right? Or they're in this denial phase. It's like, bro, you're going to hear about us whether you like it or not. This guy right here who just tweeted negatively about PulseChain and or Richard Hart, he will hear about us from his, I don't know, from whatever content creators, whatever news articles that he's reading in on a daily basis, sooner or later. Okay, because I'm telling you guys, we will prevail. We've gone through so many trials and tribulations. Richard Hart is actually a very misunderstood man, and I'm very excited to see when is he going to stream. Possibly when we're above sack rates. So keep that in mind. Don't have any expectations to see him stream anytime sooner. So yeah, and this is a really good news. When we see haters, by the way, when you see any type of hate towards PulseChain, which obviously there's a lot of people who are hating and basically preying on our downfall, it usually means it's a good thing. Okay, they don't want us to see us win. That means we're doing something right, by the way. So that's really good. Anyways, moving on to other crypto news here. Michael Sayer saying no tariffs on Bitcoin. Now, speaking of tariffs now, this could contribute to some of the dumping that happened in the past week. Basically, Donald Trump here made a tweet talking about the European Union, which was formed for the primary purpose of taking advantage of the United States on trade, has been very difficult to deal with. Their powerful trade barriers, VAT taxes, ridiculous corporate penalties, non-monetary trade barriers, monetary manipulations, unfair and unjustified lawsuits against Americans, companies, and more have led to a trade deficit, basically saying here, of a quarter of a billion dollars a year, a number which is totally unacceptable. Our discussions with the team are going nowhere. Therefore, I'm recommending a straight 50% tariffs from June 1st of June 2025. There you go. So whether this is good or bad news in your eyes, this definitely has, kind of shook the market. But then again, guys, this is just noise to me. At this point, even news articles are noise to me. I'm just fixated on the long term. Bitcoin to 200K, Ethereum to 10K plus, PulseChain to glory, guys. Leverage of Ethereum, which is leverage on Bitcoin, which is leverage on the S&P 500, which is leverage on global liquidity. Welcome to PulseChain, guys. Simple. But in other great news here, Dr. Exologist shares that BlackRock just bought 26 million worth of Ethereum on Coinbase. This is really, really great news, by the way. But of course, it's kind of like a drop in a bucket for them to spend only 26.4 million, but it's still really great news. Okay. Again, this is another case of that, smart money, guys. Remember, smart money. We're not directly seeing the effect. Okay, Ethereum is not 3,000 plus 4,000 overnight, but once you see stuff like this, you really got to ask yourself, what do they know that I don't know? You might not come up with an answer. We just got to go and follow them. Swim with the whales, as they say. Okay, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Another great news here, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and other major US banks explore creating a joint crypto stablecoin. Okay, hold on. This is not great news. But I still wanted to talk about this because it kind of leads us towards the whole PDAI narrative, right? Which also ties in with the whole Cetus stuff that happened as well, because, decentralization, and they even at the beginning of the team, right? They said that it was an Oracle bug. Again, ties in again with the whole PDAI narrative, where we're now saying it will be the first stablecoin that doesn't require an Oracle. Oracles are a single point of failures, the lifeline of a token / a project / a whole liquidity, obviously index, right? But by the way, we're going to talk about that Cetus thing in a second. It was not a liquidity. What you call it? It was not an Oracle bug. It was actually to do with a buffer overflow, where they mistakenly, or they missed an edge case that they should have caught. Okay, and effectively, it was when you have vulnerabilities like that, it's an attack vector, guys. Okay, you have to take this seriously, right? A vulnerability is not just, okay, we're gonna write that down, we're gonna note it. No, it becomes an attack vector. It's like more surface area for it to be taken advantage of, and that's exactly what the hacker did. He used flash loan attacks. He started draining from those liquidities, but thankfully, I think in terms of damage control, they did a decent part. They tried to limit as much of the money. So I think at the beginning it was 200 million roughly worth of tokens. Even, guys, USDC depegged, went down to 0, guys. Crazy stuff. And I hope people are recovering. Hopefully they'll recover, and because I know right now, we're going to cover that in a second. You will see what happened with the validators, and this is kind of what raises the whole question of, wait, wasn't the liquidity supposed to be burnt from the beginning? So even this part right here, USDC / SUI, that's supposed to be burnt. So how was he able to, drain it or whatever? But again, it comes down to, in terms of audits, in terms of, literal missing out on edge cases. So in terms of other news, there was Zach XBT, who he declined to work on the Cetus protocol kind of situation. He said, no, I do not help the SUI projects as no one in the ecosystem supports me. I have told the foundation multiple times to invest in decent analytic tools, TRM, Etherscan, Block Explorer, and little progress has been made. So yeah, it's absolutely crazy. And he also basically said, doesn't support me. So we shall see. I believe, by the way, the hacker, he also kind of sent a funny video. He embedded the link in a transaction that he sent to Zach XBT, where it was just a guy like smoking. And yeah, it's kind of a tease at Zach XBT there as well. So yeah, this is the hacker, right? He stole 223 million from SUI. Then something unprecedented happened. SUI validators literally banned him from the network and froze his funds mid-escape. Yes, this is crazy, guys. A lot of people don't even know that this is possible. Let me tell you, this is actually exactly what happened with one of the, because Bitcoin had two inflation bugs, right? Or yeah, two inflation bugs. One of them which was caught by a core dev team, so it never got taken advantage of. And this is the story right here. Bitcoin block 74,638 was mined in 2010. This block was responsible for the 184 billion Bitcoin bug, billions of Bitcoin minted out of thin air. And you can see here, it says the bug was spotted very quickly on the Bitcoin talk forum and corrected within 5 hours of finding out the bug. The hacker is still unknown and no one hearing of them again. The devs then soft forked the blockchain, which reset it before the exploit was done. The update was actually implemented by Satoshi himself. So very, very interesting stuff. But yeah, this is effectively kind of what happened here, okay, where the validators kind of got together in terms of a consensus here, right? And you can see here, let's scroll down and let's see what happened. The hack was brutal. Dude drained Cetus liquidity pools like he owned the place. And by the way, Cetus, guys, is the thickest liquidity provider, effectively, or the thickest liquidity DEX in Sui. 223 million gone in hours. Sui meme coins nuked 75% USDC depegged to zero on chain. Every swap failed. Holders couldn't even cut losses. Absolute carnage. And then here's showing a picture from them. And here it says, but here's what where it gets interesting. The hacker thought he was unstoppable. Bridged funds to Ethereum, started converting to ETH, already moved 60 million plus off chain. Classic escape route. Should have been game over, except Sui validators had other plans. They literally banned the hacker's wallet from the network, froze 162 million mid-transaction, so that's the leftover money. The remaining stolen funds locked in a digital prison. Okay, no consensus needed from courts, no lengthy legal process, just validators saying nope. So Sui hack is incredible. Dude hacks 200 million from a main exchange. Sui just bans him from the validator set. Basically, dude just thought one guy could control a whole chain. He was right, but it was a different guy. So that's kind of the whole kind of raises this question. You know, we didn't know that you can do this in a chain. Can anyone just choose who to freeze in a chain? So can they actually do that? This is part of that's blowing everyone's minds. Yes, Sui validators can collectively deny transactions from specific wallets during extreme situations. It is not automatic. It requires broad validator consensus, but it happens in real time. Okay, the crypto wallet is split. If they can, the crypto world is split. If they can freeze funds, is it really decentralized? So that's it's a great question, right? At the end of the day, when we mean decentralized, we actually mean, kind of a consensus in terms of, as opposed to a centralized authority, right? So when we mean decentralized, we're talking, for example, as a DAO, decentralized autonomous organization. And this reminds me with the whole, DAI versus USDT. USDT, they have central authority in terms of they can blacklist people from not being able to swap the token or even transfer it, right? But with DAI, it doesn't have that function, okay? The most that they can do for them to amend something in a contract is that they need, X amount of votes out of the DAO members for something to go through. So you need a consensus. So it actually moves the control from singular person to the whole community. Okay, so yeah, this is the main part. The hacker's mistake, thinking one person could control an entire chain. He was right about the control part, but wrong about who had it. Turns out it wasn't him. It was the validators working together. So collective power is greater than individual exploitation. So that's kind of the main point here. Yeah, this should be a reminder to you guys that in crypto, there's absolutely no guarantees. Even if it comes down to stablecoins, yes, their only job is to stay at $1. But as we've seen, USDC, which is one of the widely used stablecoins, one of the most trusted ones, even that can depeg to zero. So what is the solution? Okay, and the answer is that diversification. Hold multiple stablecoins. Hold multiple stablecoins in multiple chains. Hold multiple stablecoins in multiple chains in multiple wallets. So what am I talking about? This reminds me of this reply here that says, I've always told people that there's always an element of risk in every project in crypto, including stablecoins. People don't know that USDC and USDT can freeze your wallet tomorrow, inhibiting your ability to sell/transfer. So yeah, this is another side of issues with centralized stablecoins. But we're also talking about in terms of the malicious user attack, in terms of what's the attack surface, the attack vectors/vulnerabilities, and of course the risk of being depegged. Right? Don't keep your money in one type of stable and on one chain, and definitely do not leave them in one wallet. So mitigate against the chain level risk, stablecoin level risk, and of course wallet level risk. This is why you need to have cold storage or multiple hot wallets, etc. And beware of the token approvals. Please, guys, I cover all of this in my crypto operational security. Big shout out to everyone, by the way, who copped a copy of that because I've actually just reached 100 sales. So it's a big milestone, and I appreciate every single one who left a rating here. You can see here. You don't even need to hear it from me. You can click the link in the description, read what the course is about, see if it suits you. The security course is for the new and advanced crypto people. Thanks, Khaled, for the time and effort. It's an absolute pleasure, guys. Okay, it is an absolute pleasure. So if you do want to get this course with a 50% discount, just reach out to me or join the Telegram link in the description. You guys are absolutely amazing, by the way. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. You've reached the end of the video. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. It helps boost this video in the YouTube algorithm. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you can tune into my next video where I'm going to talk about the latest breaking news regarding PDAI and Atropa. I'm also going to cover those charts as well. But aside from that, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Remember, a big shout out to the man above. Trust in the process, trust in God, and take care. Bye-bye.